Bill Connor.
Present.
Ron Hembolt.
Here.
Shelley Mamberto. Nicholas Hawkins. Thad Taylor.
Here.
Dennis Otto.
Here.
Lee Trucks.
All right, so we have a quorum.
Yes.
Minutes were attached to the materials that were distributed in advance. Any questions or comments? Motion to approve?
We need to approve the agenda first.
Oh, thank you. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now the minutes. Any comments, changes? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yep. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Are there any public comments on agenda-related items? Okay, hearing none. New business. Attached to our packet was 2022 proposed calendar dates. I assume they're intended to be the same as prior years, 4 o'clock, first Wednesday of each month.
Yep, that's what we have outlined here. If you guys wanted to change it, I would have to check with Heather, but it's always an option. So,
They're fine for me. Anybody have a preferred date, time?
Nope.
So do we need a motion to approve is there a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2022 as proposed?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Old business.
I have none.
I wasn't present at the last meeting, but I saw something regarding the Fricano proposed building. Is anything happening with that?
I still haven't gotten any sort of application or anything for that. I think he's got a demo permit, and so he's just removing the facade and things like that he has there, but he has no permit to put anything new up. That would have to come to the HDC.
Is he aware of that?
Yes. Yes.
You think he's gonna come to us pretty soon? Because originally I thought he was supposed to be further advanced than he is now.
Yeah, I think COVID has thrown a wrench in everybody's system, and especially his. I think the last I heard was he intended on showing something in December, so we might see something here this month and move towards it in January. I'm not 100%, but last I heard, and that was a few weeks ago, and it all bleeds together at this point. There's so much going on.
He's
But yeah.
aware of the requirement to come.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Any other old business? Comments, communications from the public regarding items that are not on the agenda? Hearing none.
It says there, permit review. Didn't you pretty much clean all of that up, the old ones that were?
I was going to do that in my report. I can do it right now. So I'm going through that right now for the whole city. There's over 2,600 of them from 2000 to now that haven't been closed out. So I'm teasing through that and slowly closing ones out. And from there, I'm going to be able to generate you a report straight from BSNA and say, here you go. And that way, Nancy and I won't have to keep a separate log for everything. We're still going to do that for the time being, but I don't think we've had anything come through. We've got one that's almost through. So when we get to that point, I guess you'll see that most likely in January.
So in the meantime, the report that you were doing, the list that you were preparing, you're saying since it's not changed last time, you're not giving us.
Correct. It hasn't. Yep. We haven't had anything in the last month. So.
Any correspondence?
No.
Reports. Aha. DDA Executive and Economic Development Director.
Good afternoon. Zach invited me here to just do an update. I'm the point person with the Chamber for the DDA. Mark Miller focuses on the executive director or economic development portion for us. But we all work as a team at the Chamber on all of these items. So I presented you with just some highlights that I also presented to council to kind of keep you up to speed on what we're doing with the DDA, kind of some direction, and feel free to ask any questions. Again, we took over the contract for the DDA September of last year, and we take a team approach to that. The objectives of the DDA is, of course, to promote economic growth and development, provide an attractive and identifiable downtown, and then strengthen business and community ownership of the community, of downtown. We actually billed out for audit services, accounting services. We selected a new accountant in our tenure so far. We completed 2 annual audits. And then the budget last year. We'll start on the new budget coming up in February for this year. One thing to note about the budget, we are looking at going out for a bond for the DDA district of $1.5 million. And in that bond, $250,000 would go to the we're calling it Riverwalk Plaza, which is next to the West Shore College building, and it would include an ADA accessible ramp as well as a 40-foot overlook with a Les Lasky sculpture that would be there. So, and then landscaping and such around that. That will come to HDC. It isn't to that point yet. We're still trying to figure out these issues. Who's paying, who's in charge, where the easements are, all of those details. So you'll see that probably sooner than later, but we have to, we're trying to figure out the other pieces of the bond. It's looking like it's going to lead more towards streetscape from a meeting that we had this morning. We had a work session, and I think we're gonna work with council and see what their feelings are about that as we move forward, because we'll need their approval, so.
Under that part where it says aesthetically pleasing platforms,
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Last year, more than once, but I know one day in particular, several of us moldy old softball players went down there and did some serious work with power washing and all of that stuff. And I was really amazed at the amount of dirt and whatever else was down through a midsection right in a little ways from the Elks Club, and it would have been east of there. And we spent pretty close to 4 hours working quite hard. There were about a dozen of us, and we didn't really get very far. And I'm thinking, whoa, there's a whole lot of that work that needs to be done. And I don't know if there's any money in a budget or in a project where there can be some kind of regular cleaning going on down there.
Are you talking the Riverwalk?
Yeah.
Okay. The DDA has a contract with the city for the maintenance work and the landscaping and such for the Riverwalk. So that's a $65,000 contract that comes out of the DDA budget. Thad may have a couple. He's been instrumental in some of these communications, but if you have any background, Thad, that you'd like to provide.
No,
Okay.
you got it nailed.
Okay.
So why is it so dirty if there's a contract for someone to take care of it?
That has been a discussion whether we want to continue that contract or not, but that decision hasn't been made. So we are trying to work with DPW on expectations and see if we can come to that coordination and happy medium of that. So I think that it's just the contract's very vague.
From a
DDA is unhappy with the maintenance and the appearance.
From a practical standpoint, that portion of the Riverwalk there is kind of on the south-facing portion of the river, so it doesn't get a lot of sunlight, and that's where we're seeing that mold and that slime grow.
Yeah.
And even when it does get cleaned, it grows back very quickly. So it's a high maintenance issue, and I think that's really at the crux of the problem there.
Yeah, I guess what struck me was how much time we spent, how hard we worked, and we didn't get very far. And I'm thinking,
Exactly.
whoa, there's a lot there's a lot that needs to be done down here.
Yeah, it's labor intensive for sure.
We're also looking at working with the city on an EDA grant for possible upgrades. We know that the Riverwalk is aging. There are some, places that it definitely needs, the boards need to be
Yeah.
replaced. We're looking, I believe, at 25 years. That, don't quote me, but, and so we are trying to figure out funding to make that sustainable in the future. And I think more of these discussions will be had. But I'm happy to bring your comments back to the board to let them know that you're concerned with the maintenance on the Riverwalk.
Comment?
And so platforms weren't part of the Riverwalk, those were on the street, just so you know.
You stated that the Riverwalk's gonna be part of the maintenance, city maintenance for that grant.
The city maintenance agreement. We have a contract with the city currently.
They seem to have a problem doing anything as far as maintenance. We've had people in here saying we don't have enough people in maintenance. How are they gonna handle the Riverwalk that's gonna need some major cleaning? When they can't take care of half the city because of staffing issues. I don't understand that.
The contract's been in place for a long period of time. Just so you know, I know it's changed over the years and we only have the 1-year history, but the DDA has always had a contract with the city, like to empty the trash and take care of the bathrooms that are in the downtown district. And then I believe 2 years ago, that had changed to include the maintenance on the Riverwalk. It was independently contract out to a landscaping firm before that. And then I think there was just a partnership or discussions that could, that it would fit in with the DPW work.
Prior to transferring that to the DPW, was the landscaping company doing a better job?
I do not have the answer to that. Sorry, this is our first year, so that would have been 2 years or 3 years prior to us taking over.
Is there any plan on how often to clean the Riverwalk at all? Any schedule?
No, according to the contract, there are 2 DPW workers that were hired and assigned to the Riverwalk. But I think Jeff McCullough would probably be more apt to answer that question than I would, as he's the one that would schedule the crews. I'm happy to provide that contract if you guys would like to look at it. It is public. So if the group would like that, I can get that over to Zach and he can.
I don't know that, I personally want to see the contract, I just want to see it approved. It
Okay.
sounds like you're looking into it as alternatives. You're new to the responsibility, and I look forward to seeing what you can do to make things better, because it's really kind of embarrassing.
No, I appreciate your comments, and we are concerned with the whole downtown to make sure that it is attractive for all of our visitors and our locals as we move forward. So we understand the concern. Thank you. The outdoor dining, I hope you found those presentable, the platforms that were out there. Remember, we had the orange barriers that we started with to get us through COVID. Council had allowed us to have 2 parking spaces per restaurant, and we had 3 businesses take us up on finding the platforms, and the businesses purchased those themselves and put the tables and everything out. And we actually worked with a local company out of Ludington to build those. And so those came up before November 1st, they had to come up, and then they'll go back out in May if the business chooses to do their outdoor permit again.
Do you have any knowledge of how successful the businesses felt that?
All of them. Staffing was probably really the issue, as we know. Getting staff is a challenge. So sometimes they had to close, but anytime they were open, they definitely had the value, and they're very happy with those. And I heard lots of patrons and residents say it was really nice to dine with the plants and have that, kind of indented space that was more comforting to be out on. So great, we heard great results from that. And that seems to be a trend. I attended the spring and a fall conference for the Michigan Downtown Association, and a lot of cities are either closing their main streets and making it a pedestrian thoroughfare, with changing it up with bike lanes and trees and things like that. For COVID, and now they're just keeping it like that because they're finding that a lot of people that vacation really, really enjoy those open spaces, those public spaces, to just be somewhere and have outdoor dining options, which I think, for what we started, we accomplished that, and I think everybody had a really nice summer. Social district is going well. We haven't had any issues or complaints on the police department side. We follow up with Chief Glass quite regularly to make sure everything's going well. That has also been well received. If you're not aware of the social district, basically you have to purchase an alcoholic beverage from a participating licensed provider. They actually have to get a special license to be able to serve to-go drinks. And so it's Bluefish, TJ's, Taco, and North Channel. And you can walk from Division to Pine Street and over to Fifth Avenue on Maple. And also the Riverwalk. And each cup will be specially logoed with the same banners that you see. That would be the cup sticker. And we've had really good results. I think TJ's has went through almost 2,000 labels already.
Wow.
So people are using it and getting outside, and so another indication of keeping people out and active. That goes 365 days of the year, so it's still in effect in the winter.
That doesn't apply to their platform area, though. It's just that they leave the platform, right?
Yes, I think they have served a couple drinks because people might have wanted them to take on the platform and then leave the platform, but no, they don't have to mark the cups if you're just on the platform. Does that answer your question? Okay. And communication, we are doing merchant meetings every month. This normally it's the third Tuesday of the month. This month we're going to do it on the 14th just because the 21st is a little bit busy for them with a Christmas rush. The merchants have communicated great sales, very good. They're seeing lots of tourists, they're seeing lots of locals come out. They're really happy with their numbers this year. So they're all coming together. They were uncomfortable with like a soup cook-off for Sleigh Bells, so we went with a sleigh scavenger hunt, which will happen on Friday instead of eating or drinking. And they're probably going to tone down ladies and men's night. So it's just a place where they can have a discussion to figure out, you know, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what does this look like at your establishment? And then they all can kind of come together to plan those downtown events. So it's working out rather nicely. During COVID, we were having those twice a month, and then we backed off to once a month at this point. And then we can kind of listen to their voices and see what's working well in downtown and what's not. So they've been good about that. And then we've started a newsletter to try and keep them updated on any ordinance changes or any requirements for like outdoor permits when they need them. There's a dumpster ordinance that they're gonna, that we need to make sure that they're all aware of. That date is coming up quickly, isn't it, Zach?
July.
Okay, so that will be going out in the next newsletter with links on how to correct those actions and make sure that they're in compliance.
Could the historical commission members be on that distribution list for that newsletter?
Sure, that's a great idea, thank you. Okay. And I think that's it. The bond is really the next, the bond and making sure that downtown is as beautiful as it can be are the two discussions that are coming up at the DDA quite often. I'm sure you read in the paper about parking meters. That was not quite in the context that it was approached at the DDA. Merchants have been talking about parking issues on River Street, and some felt parking meters are a good idea and some do not. So it was a way, how do we address parking issues? And really those issues are some business owners or employees are parking in the spots, like in front of other people's businesses for the 8 or 10 hours a day. And so we're working through that issue right now, but at this point there are no parking meters coming to Manistee. If anybody had any concerns on that, that's where we're at. So the DDA will look at it, maybe enforcing the 2 hours or something of that nature, because currently we're not enforcing that. So, did I miss anything? Is there anything else you guys would like to know about the chamber or the DDA direction that I can help with? All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I wanted to just make sure that we're communicating with you and keeping you up to date as, there are changes or things going on.
Yeah, thank you. Please come back.
Thank you.
Museum curator?
I have nothing.
Planning and zoning administrator?
I've got nothing. I wear many hats. No, like I said, I've been working through BSNA and going through the old files that have just not been closed out. And it's just gonna eventually make things a lot smoother on our end to be able to generate reports for you. It's gonna take a load off of Nancy, but she's not busy at all, so. But yeah, that's been a big part. I think we've got some RRC stuff to update from just HTC trainings and things like that, but nothing too pertinent to news stuff for you guys. So yeah, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I should have brought this up earlier, but remember the guy that put the windows in without approval? Was anything ever happened with that?
I reached out to him previously, and he was very gung-ho, said he was going to call Mark. That's kind of what I figured. So I guess I'll reach out again here and see if I can apply a little pressure to, get him to comply there. We'll see what we can do.
If you want to add that onto the old business section here, just to keep
I can
alive.
do that. Yes, I can do that for next month. Absolutely.
I'll forget about it.
Anything else?
Members, anything?
Nothing?
Dennis?
I'm still thinking.
Uh-oh.
Let us know when you're done thinking.
I'm just finishing up. Question for, how long has that contract been with the city, you said?
I believe it's been several years. It's morphed into a few different things. I can look at that initiation date and get that over to Zach for this current contract. But I believe that the current one was about 2 years old. They've always had a contract with the city for services like watering the flowers and emptying the trash and things like that. But they've kind of changed, and as the services have changed, the contract's changed a little bit.
I'm just wondering why the Riverwalk was so dirty, it needed to be power washed. Isn't that part of the contract to keep it clean?
Well, I know that there's an issue with power washing because of the arsenic in the wood. That changed a few years ago. So this year they hand scrubbed that. Manistee Proud came in and hand scrubbed the.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sorry. I can talk again. There's arsenic in the wood in the Riverwalk, and I think that was discovered a couple of years ago when the Lighthouse Park was discovered, so that the Riverwalk can't be power washed. Manistee Proud, and a group of volunteers with the senior softball team, has went and actually scrubbed every board this summer by hand.
We did power wash all the cement.
The cement, yep. And I did see a big cleaner wheel that went out there.
Yeah.
And I'm quite frankly not sure that they would have capacity to do that every year. I don't know if there's so many years. So what we're trying to really do is figure out what needs to be done yearly, what needs to be done in 5 years, what needs to be done in 10 years, and put that plan together so that it can be an asset management plan. And so we'll work together with DPW and see if we can put those pieces together.
How long has the Riverwalk been there? What's there now, let's say? Do you know?
I think about 25 years.
They found arsenic still in the treated wood?
It's always been there.
No, it comes out. I did decking for, like, circular decking left and right. Arsenic doesn't stay there. Eventually the water and the rain, if you don't cover it with anything, which is not, the arsenic will come out of there. Or it'll be so minimal, that's not gonna affect anything.
All we did was just follow Eagle's, I don't want to say recommendations, but their standards of guidance is that you cannot power wash treated lumber because of the arsenic. That's the first I've ever heard that
They use it as a treatment to make the lumber weather resistant, but that actually wears off. That's why it rots over a longer period of time, but it also disintegrates and rots too. The arsenic doesn't keep it. I said that eventually washes out, weather-wise and everything else. It doesn't stay in there, especially being open constantly. That's what I was wondering. Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm definitely not the expert on that, but I do know that there was concern over the waterway and the, you know, the environment. Yeah, and the wildlife. And so that has just been a stipulation that has been put. But that doesn't mean moving forward that that material can't change. I think a lot of those things are being looked into. What grants could we potentially have to help us redo that? And what does that look like? So we're kind of in those stages now where some of those things hopefully will get worked out over the next couple of years.
Has there ever been any thought to standing the Riverwalk?
It has not been discussed at a DDA meeting currently.
Because that really does help the lumber, especially with foot traffic and everything else.
I
They
think-
could- they could- what?
I was gonna say, I think we're getting outside the scope of the DDA. And, you
If they're
know,
maintaining the Riverwalk, right?
well, they're paying a contractor to do it in, yeah. I mean, if it's of that degree of interest, I mean, we can certainly ask Jeff McCullough to come up and give us a tutorial on it.
Yeah, I know he definitely has specific procedures that they follow with the benches and with that, and I do know that when we've painted the railings, they've had to, put plastic to make sure there's no overspray into the water areas, and it is a very detailed process to make sure that we're following all the guidelines.
Just a thought, it does help the wood, preserve wood quite a long time.
Okay.
It could be a neutral color, I mean,
Yeah, and they've been talking about different materials from composite to other things, so I think that will be investigated as,
well, there's composite decking too, which doesn't rot at all.
right. So I think all of those options are being looked at for the future, as we know that the decking will eventually need to be replaced. And we'll work with the city on that to make sure that we're in combination to keep that asset as beautiful as possible.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm done thinking.
All right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.